The first alarm went off 30 seconds later. It was a soft sound, almost polite, the kind of alarm that meant something unusual was happening, but nothing dangerous. The council guards, stationed at every entrance to the chamber, touched their communication devices and listened. Then the polite alarm became a screaming siren. Veleth turned to his security chief, a massive armored creature that looked like a cross between a crab and a tank. "What is happening?" "Unknown life forms," the security chief reported. His voice was steady, but Yuna could see the confusion in his many eyes. "They are moving through the station, hundreds of them. They came from the human cargo vessels? Life forms?" Rath's mandibles clicked rapidly. "What kind of life forms?" "Unknown. They are not responding to containment protocols. They are not responding to anything." Veleth turned back to Yuna. His golden scales had paled slightly. "What have you done, human?" Yuna clasped her hands behind her back. "You asked me to prove my authority. I am proving it. You brought soldiers? You brought weapons?" Veleth's voice rose. "This is an act of war." "I brought neither soldiers nor weapons," Yuna said calmly. "Check your sensors. What do they show?" The security chief touched his device again. His confusion deepened. "The life forms are animals, various species. They match no known patterns in our database, but they are clearly non-sapient creatures." "Animals?" Councilor Wrath sounded insulted. "You brought animals to a council meeting?" "I brought my family." The chamber fell silent. Even the observers on the balconies stopped whispering. Bryn leaned forward, her crystal body chiming with curiosity. "Explain." But before Yuna could speak, the great doors of the chamber burst open. The first through the doors were the wolves. They were not like the wolves of ancient Earth. Those had been beautiful creatures, but small, limited by evolution. These wolves had been shaped by human science for 200 years. They stood as tall as a man's chest, their fur thick and silver gray, their eyes glowing with artificial intelligence implants. They moved in perfect formation, spreading across the floor like water flowing downhill. Behind them came the tigers. Yuna's heart swelled when she saw them. They were magnificent. Orange and white and black, striped patterns that had evolved to hide them in forests, but now marked them as creatures of war. Their claws clicked against the metal floor, each step precise, controlled. They took positions on either side of the wolves, flanking them like cavalry. Then the bears, 3 meters tall when they stood upright, covered in black fur that was reinforced with synthetic fibers. Their eyes were small but intelligent, and their jaws could crush anything. They moved slowly, deliberately, taking positions at the back of the formation. The birds came last. Hawks and eagles, their feathers gleaming with metallic implants, their eyes fitted with targeting systems that could track a fly at 1,000 meters. They circled near the ceiling, silent shadows that watched everything below. The council guards raised their weapons. The security chief stepped forward, ready to give the order to fire. "I would not do that," Yuna said quietly. The security chief hesitated. "These creatures are bonded to human partners," Yuna explained. "Right now, their partners are aboard my transport ships, monitoring everything through neural links. If you harm even one of these animals, their partners will know, and they will tell the others." She gestured to the war beasts. All of them had gone still, watching the guards with predator eyes. 200 war beasts, Yuna continued. Wolves, tigers, bears, hawks. Each one capable of killing a dozen armed soldiers. Each one willing to die for its human partner. And each one completely loyal to me, because I am the alpha of their pack. Vela stared at the army of beasts. For the first time since Yuna had entered the chamber, he looked uncertain. "This is madness," he said. "You cannot threaten the council with animals." "I am not threatening anyone." Yuna walked forward, past the circle where petitioners were supposed to stand. toward the platform where the counselors sat. The war beasts parted to let her through, then closed ranks behind her. "You asked me to prove my authority," she said. "You asked what gives humanity the right to command. This is my answer." She raised 2 fingers to her lips and whistled. The sound was sharp and clear, cutting through the tense silence of the chamber. It was a simple sound, a pattern that humans had used for thousands of years. And every war beast in the chamber responded. The wolves sat. The tigers lay down, their massive bodies relaxed but ready. The bears lowered themselves to all fours. The hawks descended, landing on the shoulders of the larger beasts. 200 war beasts, completely still, completely silent, completely obedient. "They are not following my orders," Una said. "They are not responding to programming or training. They are choosing to obey me. Do you understand the difference?" Bryn rose from her seat. Her crystal body was glowing now, reflecting emotions that Una could not read. "They are choosing? Every one of them could kill me in seconds," Una said. "They are predators. They have instincts that tell them to hunt, to kill, to dominate. But they do not follow those instincts. They follow me, because I have earned their trust. Because I have loved them, and they have loved me in return." She turned to face all the counselors. "This is what humanity is. We are not just predators from a death world. We are the species that made allies of our greatest threats. We looked at wolves and saw partners. We looked at tigers and saw friends. We looked at the most dangerous creatures on our planet and said, 'Let us work together.'" The counselors stared at her. "You rule through fear and tradition," Una continued. "You demand obedience because you are old and powerful. But we earn obedience. We earn loyalty. We earn love." She pointed to Baiko, who had appeared at the front of the formation. The white tiger watched her with golden eyes full of devotion. "That is our authority. That is our proof. We are the species that made friends with monsters." Vela slowly sank back into his seat. "And now," Una said, "the council will decide if that authority is enough." The message arrived at midnight, ship time. Admiral Una Park was sitting in her quarters aboard the battleship Iron Mountain when the communication screen lit up with the golden seal of the Galactic Council. She had been reading old Earth poetry, a habit she picked up from her grandmother. But the book fell from her hands the moment she saw that seal. Nobody received direct messages from the council. Not fleet admirals. Not planetary governors. Not even the president of the human collective. The council spoke through ambassadors and bureaucrats, through layers of protocol that could take months to navigate. A direct message meant something had changed. Una touched the screen, and the seal dissolved into text. Admiral Una Park of the Human Collective. Fleet, you are hereby summoned to appear before the High Council of the Galactic Assembly at Nexus Prime Station. You will come alone. You will bring no warships. You will carry no weapons. You will submit to Council authority upon arrival. Failure to appear within 30 standard days will be considered an act of defiance against the Assembly. The Council has spoken. The message ended. No signature. No explanation. No hint of what the Council wanted. Una read it 3 times, then walked to her window and stared out at the stars. The Iron Mountain was stationed at the edge of human space, guarding the 17 star systems that humanity had claimed over the past 2 centuries. Those systems held billions of people. Farms and factories, schools and hospitals, families building lives among the stars. Everything humanity had worked for since leaving Earth. And now the Council wanted to talk. She pressed the communication button on her desk. "Captain Lee, come to my quarters. Bring Commander Cho." 10 minutes later, Do-Hyun Lee and Hana Cho stood before her. Do-Hyun was a tall man with gray at his temples and scars on his hands from 20 years of military service. Hana was younger, barely 30, but her eyes were sharp, and she never missed details that others overlooked. Yuna showed them the message. Do-hyun's face went pale. "It's a trap, probably," Yuna agreed. "The Council has done this before," Hana said quietly. She had studied galactic history at the Academy, spent years learning how the elder races operated. The Veth Hegemony, the Moran Trade Federation, the Crystal Kingdoms. Whenever a younger species grew too powerful, the Council summoned their leaders and stripped their authority. They did it legally, through votes and procedures, but the result was always the same. The younger species lost everything. "And if I don't go? Then they call it defiance," Do-hyun said. "They send their combined fleets. We can't fight the entire galaxy, Admiral." "Not yet," Yuna nodded slowly. She had known this day would come. Humanity had grown too fast, claimed too many systems, built too many ships. The elder races had ruled the galaxy for 100,000 years. They did not like competition. "I'll go," she said. Do-hyun stepped forward. "Then I'm coming with you." The summons says alone. The summons can burn in a star. I'm not letting you walk into that chamber without backup. Yuna smiled, but shook her head. "If I bring warships, they'll use it as an excuse to declare us hostile. If I bring guards, they'll say I don't respect their authority. I have to go alone." "Then you'll die alone," Do-hyun said. His voice was rough with emotion. "Yuna, please. You're not just an admiral. You're the symbol of everything we've built. If they kill you, humanity loses more than a commander." "I know." Yuna walked to the window again. Outside, she could see the distant lights of Koryo Station, the massive military base that served as the heart of humanity's frontier defense. And somewhere on that station, in the deep kennels beneath the main deck, her oldest friend was waiting. "I'm not going completely alone," she said. Hana frowned. "What do you mean? How many war beasts are currently stationed at Koryo?" Do-hyun checked his datapad. 212, including support animals. "But Admiral, you can't bring war beasts to a council meeting. They'll consider it a hostile act." The summons said no warships, no weapons, no guards. Yuna turned to face them, and there was something in her eyes that made both officers stand straighter. It said nothing about animals. Hana understood first. Her eyes went wide. "You're going to bring all of them?" "Every single one." The war beasts were humanity's secret strength. For 10,000 years, humans had lived alongside other predators. Dogs and wolves, cats and tigers, bears and birds. They had hunted together, fought together, died together. When humanity reached the stars, they brought their companions with them. And over 2 centuries of genetic engineering. Those companions had become something extraordinary. Werewolves stood as tall as a man's chest, with jaws that could crush steel and minds sharp enough to understand complex tactics. Battle tigers were armored in reinforced bone and synthetic muscle, able to leap 30 meters and tear through hull plating. Combat bears could survive in vacuum for short periods and shrug off weapons that would kill a human soldier. Warhawks had targeting systems built into their eyes and could guide missiles with their thoughts. But the most dangerous thing about them was not their strength or their intelligence. It was their loyalty. Each war beast bonded with a single human partner, and that bond was absolute. They would die for their humans. They would kill for them. Not because of programming or training, but because they chose to. The elder races had never understood this. They saw humans as simple predators from a dangerous planet. Nothing special, nothing threatening. They had no idea what humanity had brought with them from Earth. Yun. I left her quarters and walked to the shuttle bay. Within an hour, she was descending to Koryo Station, to the kennels where the war beasts waited. The smell hit her first. Fur and metal, blood and antiseptic. The sounds came next. Growls and chirps, the click of claws on metal floors, the deep rumble of large animals breathing. And then she saw him. Baiko was waiting at the entrance to his enclosure. He was a white tiger, 4 meters long from nose to tail, with golden eyes that held more intelligence than most humans gave him credit for. When he saw Yuna, he pressed against the bars and made a sound that was half purr, half question. She opened the enclosure and stepped inside. Baiko lowered his massive head and pressed it against her chest. She wrapped her arms around his neck, feeling the warmth of his fur, the steady beat of his heart. "We're going on a trip," she whispered. "The council wants to meet me. They want to know if I deserve my authority." Baiko growled softly. "I know," Yuna said. "I'm going to show them. I'm going to show them what humanity really is." She stepped back and looked at her tiger. Behind him, in the other enclosures, 200 war beasts had gone still. They were watching her, waiting. Yuna smiled. "All of us," she said. "We're all going together." The war beasts began to howl. Nexus Prime was older than human civilization. The station hung in the void between galaxies, a massive ring of metal and crystal that had been built before humanity learned to make fire. The elder races had constructed it as a meeting place, a neutral ground where the great powers of the galaxy could gather and make decisions that shaped the lives of trillions. Yuna's shuttle approached slowly, giving her time to study the station through the viewport. It was beautiful in a cold way, all sharp angles and perfect geometry. Nothing like the ships humans built, which were always a little rough, a little imperfect, a little alive. Behind her shuttle, hidden in the cargo bays of 3 transport vessels, 200 war beasts waited in silence. They had been sedated for the journey, kept quiet so the council's sensors would not detect them. But now, as the shuttles docked at Nexus Prime, Yuna could feel Baiko waking up. She always knew when he was conscious. It was part of the bond. "Stay calm," she whispered, though he could not hear her. Not yet. The docking bay was empty except for a single escort. It was a tall creature with gray skin and too many eyes, wearing the silver robes of a council servant. "Admiral Yuna Park," it said. Its voice was flat, without emotion. "You will follow me to the council chamber. You will speak only when addressed. You will show proper respect to the High Arbiter and the assembled councilors." Yuna nodded and followed. The walk to the council chamber took nearly an hour. The station was vast, filled with corridors that seemed to stretch forever and rooms larger than cities. Yuna saw other species along the way. Some watched her with curiosity. Others looked at her with open hatred. Humanity was not popular among the elder races. Finally, they reached the great doors. They were 30 meters tall, carved from some dark stone that Yuna did not recognize. Strange symbols covered their surface, writing in languages that had been old when Earth was still molten rock. The doors swung open without a sound, and Yuna stepped into the council chamber. It was like walking into a cathedral. The ceiling was so high that she could barely see it. The walls were lined with balconies where thousands of observers sat watching. At the far end of the room, raised on a platform of white crystal, 12 figures waited. The counselors. Yuna recognized some of them from her studies. High Arbiter Velith, a serpentine creature covered in golden scales, wearing ceremonial chains that marked his authority. Counselor Mrath, an insectoid with clicking mandibles and compound eyes that reflected the light. Counselor Bren, a being made of living crystal whose body chimed softly with each movement. There were others, too. A creature of pure energy contained in a humanoid shell. A mass of tentacles that pulsed with bioluminescence. A being that looked almost human but was too perfect, too symmetrical, like a statue come to life. They watched Yuna approach with expressions. She could not read Dodd. She stopped at the center of the chamber, standing on a small circle marked in the floor. This was where petitioners stood. This was where younger species came to beg for recognition, for treaties, for mercy. Una did not feel like begging. "Admiral Una Park of the Human Collective," Veleth said. His voice echoed through the chamber, amplified by technology that humans could not yet match. "You have answered our summons. The Council is pleased." Una said nothing. She had been told to speak only when addressed, and this was not a question. Veleth's eyes narrowed slightly. He was not used to silence from younger species. They usually babbled, made excuses, tried to explain themselves. This human simply stood there, watching him with calm, dark eyes. "You command the human fleet at the frontier," Veleth continued. 17 star systems fall under your authority. Billions of your species look to you for protection. "They do," Una said. Wrath leaned forward, his mandibles clicking rapidly. "By what right do you hold this authority? Your species has been spacefaring for barely 300 years. You have no ancient treaties, no founding claims, no genetic legacy among the elder races." "We earned it," Una said simply. The chamber murmured. The observers on the balcony shifted and whispered. This was not how younger species were supposed to speak. "Earned?" Veleth laughed, a dry hissing sound that made Una's skin crawl. "You are predators from a death world. Your planet tried to kill you every day of your evolution. You survived through violence and desperation, nothing more." "Nothing more," another counselor agreed. This one was the energy being, its voice crackling like static. "You are children playing at Empire. You have no culture worth preserving, no wisdom worth sharing, no history worth remembering." Una felt anger rise in her chest, but she kept her face still. She had expected this. The elder races always believed age meant superiority, that ancient meant wise. They had ruled the galaxy for so long that they had forgotten what it meant to struggle, to fight, to survive. "We have all of those things," Una said. "But you cannot see them because you are not looking." Bryn, the crystal being, made a sound like wind chimes. "The human speaks boldly. Perhaps too boldly. Perhaps not boldly enough," Una replied. Silence fell over the chamber. Veleth rose from his seat, his serpentine body uncoiling until he towered over the other counselors. "You come to this chamber alone, human. No fleet to protect you. No weapons to threaten us. No guards to die for you. And yet you speak as if you hold power here." "I do hold power," Una said. "Show us." Veleth's voice was cold. "Show us this power you claim. Prove that humanity deserves what it has taken, or admit that you are nothing more than scavengers who grew too quickly and reached too far." Wrath stood as well. "The Council will vote. If you cannot prove your authority, humanity's territories will revert to Council control. Your fleet will be disbanded. Your species will become clients of the elder races, as is proper." The other counselors nodded. Some looked pleased. Others looked bored, as if this was a formality they had performed many times before. Una looked at them. 12 ancient beings who thought they understood power. 12 rulers who had forgotten what it meant to earn loyalty instead of demanding it. "You want proof," she said. "Very well. But first, I have a question." Veleth tilted his head. "Ask. Have any of you ever loved something that could kill you?" The counselors exchanged confused glances. "I don't understand," Bryn said. Una smiled. "You will." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. It was a communicator, linked to the transport ships docked in the station's cargo bays. "Open all cargo doors," she said. "Release them." Somewhere in the station, 200 war beasts opened their eyes and began to move. For a long moment, nobody moved. The council chamber had seen many things in its 100,000 years of existence. Wars had been declared within these walls. Empires had fallen. Species had been sentenced to extinction. But the 12 counselors had never seen anything like this. a human woman standing before them, surrounded by 200 predators who watched her with eyes full of love. Velith was the first to recover. He was old, older than most species could imagine, and he had not survived this long by showing weakness. "An impressive display," he said. His voice was steady, but Yuna noticed that he did not leave his seat. But displays are not proof. Any species can train animals to obey commands. Can they? Yuna asked. She turned to Baiko and knelt before him. The white tiger towered over her, his body massive enough to crush her with a single swipe of his paw. His claws, each one as long as her hand, rested on the floor near her knees. "Baiko," she said softly. "Show them." The tiger understood. He always understood. Slowly, he opened his mouth. His teeth were enormous, designed to tear through armor plating. His breath was warm against Yuna's face. And then, very gently, he closed his jaws around her arm. The counselors gasped. Guards raised their weapons. Even Bryn, who had seemed sympathetic, made a sound of alarm, but Yuna did not move. She knelt there, her arm between the jaws of a creature that could bite through steel, and she smiled. "He could kill me right now," she said. "One bite and my arm would be gone. 2 bites and I would be dead. But he won't, because he loves me, and I love him." Baiko released her arm. There was not a single mark on her skin. She stood and faced the council again. This is not training. This is not control. This is partnership. For 10,000 years, humans have lived with creatures like Baiko. We have hunted together. We have fought together. We have died together. They have saved our lives, and we have saved theirs. They are not our tools. They are our family. Councilor Mrath made a clicking sound that might have been disbelief. Impossible. No species bonds with predators. It goes against all natural law. Natural law? Yuna laughed softly. We rewrote natural law. When we were still living in caves, we looked at wolves and saw not enemies but friends. When we were building our first cities, we invited cats into our homes. When we rode across plains and conquered continents, we did it on the backs of horses who chose to carry us. She spread her arms wide, taking in all the war beasts around her. And when we reached the stars, we brought them with us. We made them stronger. We made them smarter. But we never made them slaves. Because slavery does not create loyalty. Slavery creates fear. And fear breaks under pressure. She whistled again, a different pattern this time. The war beasts rose to their feet. The wolves formed into ranks, shoulder to shoulder, their eyes forward. The tigers spread out to cover the flanks, their bodies low and ready to spring. The bears moved to the center, forming a wall of muscle and fur that nothing could break through. The hawks launched themselves into the air, circling overhead in a pattern that covered angle of attack. It was a battle formation. Perfect, precise, terrifying. 200 war beasts, Yuna said. 200 minds, all working together. They are not following a script. They are not obeying programmed commands. They are reading each other's movements, adjusting their positions, covering each other's weaknesses. They are a single unit made of 200 hearts. She walked to the front of the formation, standing before the line of wolves. They parted to let her through, then closed behind her. You asked what gives humanity the right to command, she said. This is it. We do not rule through power alone. We lead because others choose to follow us. Our beasts follow us. Our soldiers follow us. Our people follow us. Not because they fear us, but because they trust us. The energy counselor flickered with agitation. And if we reject your claim? If we vote to strip humanity of its territories? Yuna met the creature's eyes without flinching. Then you will learn what happens when you threaten what we love. It was not a threat. It was a statement of fact. The war beasts felt her emotion through their neural links, and they responded. A low growl began in Baiko's chest, spreading through the formation until the entire chamber vibrated with the sound. 200 predators, all making the same promise, Toucher, and we will end you. Veleth looked at his fellow counselors. Some looked afraid. Others looked angry. But Bryn was looking at Una with something that might have been respect. There is precedent, Bryn said quietly. When the Veth claimed their territories, they demonstrated their strength. When the Marn established their trade routes, they proved their economic power. The humans have demonstrated something we have never seen before. What? Veleth demanded. Trust. Bryn turned to face the other counselors. They have demonstrated trust. Their creatures trust them absolutely, without hesitation, without fear. And the humans trust their creatures in return. Did you see how she put her arm in that beast's mouth? She knew it would not harm her. That is not training. That is faith. The tentacle counselor pulsed with color. Faith is not power. No, Bryn agreed. It is something more. It is the foundation of power. Empires built on fear collapse when the fear fades. But bonds built on love endure. She looked at Una. I vote to recognize humanity's claim. The chamber erupted in noise. Counselors argued with each other. Guards shifted nervously. Observers shouted from the balconies. But through it all, Una stood still at the center of her army of beasts, waiting. The argument lasted 3 hours. Counselors shouted at each other in languages that Una did not understand. Holographic displays appeared in the air, showing data and charts and historical records. Guards were dismissed and called back and dismissed again. At one point, Wrath physically threatened Bryn, and 2 other counselors had to separate them. Through it all, Una waited. She had sent a quiet command through her neural link, telling the war beast to rest but stay alert. They had settled into comfortable positions around the chamber, watching the chaos with predator patience. Some of the wolves had actually fallen asleep, their heads resting on their paws. The tigers groomed themselves lazily. Only the hawks remained fully vigilant, circling overhead in endless patterns. Baiko stayed at Una's side. He did not sleep. He did not look away from the counselors. His golden eyes tracked every movement, every gesture, every hint of threat. They are afraid, Una murmured to him. They have ruled for so long that they forgot what it feels like to face something new. Baiko made a soft sound in his throat. Agreement. Finally, Veleth raised his hand. The chamber fell silent. The council has debated, he said. His voice was tired. We have examined the evidence. We have considered the precedents. And we have reached a decision. He looked at Una with eyes that held something she had not seen before. Not respect, exactly, but recognition. The human admiral has demonstrated something unprecedented. Her authority is not based on military power, though humanity has that. It is not based on economic strength, though humanity has that too. It is based on something we have never considered before. He paused, as if the next words were difficult to say. Loyalty. Freely given. Earned through love and trust. Wrath clicked his mandibles in protest. This sets a dangerous precedent. If we accept loyalty as a basis for authority, then any species could claim the same. Could they? Bryn asked. Could your species form bonds with creatures that could kill them? Could you earn the love of predators? Could you trust them with your life? Wrath was silent. The humans are unique, Bryn continued. They evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. But instead of becoming afraid of other predators, they befriended them. They make alliances with wolves and cats, with horses and hawks. They built their civilization on partnerships with other species. She turned to Una. You called them your family. You meant it. I did, Yuna said. The energy counselor flickered. And what happens when this family of yours decides that humanity is the enemy? What happens when your beasts turn against you? Yuna smiled. It was the question she had been waiting for. They won't, she said. How can you be certain? Because we have been together for 10,000 years. Longer than your species has been spacefaring. Longer than most species in this chamber have existed. We have had 10,000 years to betray each other, and we never have. She walked to Baiko and placed her hand on his head. The tiger closed his eyes, leaning into her touch. This is what you don't understand about humanity. We are not strong because we are dangerous. We are strong because we make others want to be dangerous for us. Our beasts fight for us because they love us. Our soldiers fight for us because they believe in us. Our people sacrifice for each other because they know that we would sacrifice for them. She looked at the counselors one by one. That is the power you could never take from us. Even if you destroyed our fleet. Even if you conquered all worlds. Even if you killed every human in the galaxy. As long as one human remains and one beast remains loyal to them, we will survive. We will rebuild. We will return. The chamber was completely silent. Veleth bowed his head. It was a small movement, barely noticeable, but Yuna saw it. The council votes, he said. All in favor of recognizing humanity's claim to its 17 star systems. Raise your hand or equivalent appendage. Bryn raised her hand immediately. The energy being flickered in assent. The tentacled counselor pulsed with color. One by one, the others followed. Even Wrath, clicking his mandibles in frustration, raised his hand. 12 votes. Unanimous. The motion carries, Veleth said. Humanity's territories are recognized. Admiral Yuna Park's authority is confirmed. The council has spoken. Yuna bowed, not deeply, but enough to show respect. The human collective thanks the council for its wisdom. Veleth's eyes narrowed. Do not think this makes us allies, Admiral. We have recognized your strength, but we do not forget that strength can be turned against us. We have no wish to be your enemies, Yuna said. We only wish to be left in peace. To grow. To explore. To build. And your beasts? Mrath asked. Will they be content with peace? Yuna looked at Baiko. The tiger looked back at her, and she could feel his emotions through their bond. Love. Loyalty. A fierce desire to protect Dot, and underneath it all, something else. Something that made her heart swell with pride. Hope. My beasts want what I want, she said. A future where we can live without fear. Where we can explore the stars together. Where our children and their children can know the bond that we know. She turned to leave, and the war beasts rose to follow her. Wolves and tigers, bears and hawks, moving in perfect formation toward the great doors down at the entrance. She stopped and looked back. One more thing, she said. You called humans predators from a death world. You meant it as an insult. But you were right. We are predators. We evolved surrounded by danger. And we learned to make friends with that danger. She smiled, and for a moment, she looked as wild as the beasts who followed her. Remember that the next time you think about threatening us. She walked through the doors, and 200 war beasts followed. The council watched them go in silence, on the shuttle back to human space. Hanacho finally allowed herself to breathe. We did it, she said. We actually did it. Yuna sat on the floor of the cargo bay, surrounded by sleeping war beasts. Baiko's head rested in her lap, his eyes closed, his breathing slow and peaceful. Around them, wolves and tigers curled together. Hawks perched on bears' shoulders, 100 different species sharing warmth and comfort. We did, Yuna agreed. The council will never forget this. They'll be watching us forever. Good. Yuna stroked Baiko's fur. Let them watch. Let them see what happens when you earn loyalty instead of demanding it. Let them see what humanity can do. Hannah looked at the sleeping beasts. Do you think other species will try to copy us? Try to bond with predators like we did? They might try. But it took us 10,000 years to build these bonds. It can't be rushed. It can't be faked. You can't force love. Baiko opened one golden eye, looking up at Yuna with adoration. She scratched behind his ear, and his eye closed again in contentment. Besides, Yuna said quietly, they could never love like we do. The shuttle jumped to light speed, carrying one admiral, one lieutenant, and 200 war beasts homed out behind them. The Galactic Council began rewriting their assessments of humanity. They added new sections on human-animal bonds, on the history of domestication, on the strange power of mutual love. They did not understand it, but they would never underestimate it again. And somewhere in the stars, a white tiger dreamed of running through forests with his human at his side. Safe. Together. Home.